I always believed love was about building, a life created together, brick by brick, moment by moment. My name is James, and for 5 years I shared a life with Sarah that felt real, stable, and full of hope. We had our routines, our quiet rituals that made ordinary days feel special, and dreams we whispered about before falling asleep. I trusted her completely, with my heart, my flaws, and my future. To me, trust was sacred, something inviolable. But that faith was about to face a test I never saw coming. It began one calm evening on the balcony, the city lights flickering beneath us like scattered stars. Sarah looked at me, her eyes caught between frustration and yearning, and said softly, "James, I'm too young. I need to explore. There's so much I haven't lived yet." Her words hit me like a cold wind on a summer night. Explore. I repeated silently, try to understand. Was she talking about travel, self-discovery, or someone else? The meaning sank in slowly, painfully. She wanted something beyond what we'd built together. My heart dropped as I realized the life I'd poured myself into, the love I believed in, had suddenly become secondary to her own desires. I tried to stay composed, to reason with her. "Sarah," I said, my voice tight but steady, "we've always talked about growing together. Isn't that what we promised?" She shook her head gently, her tone calm but resolute. "You don't understand, James. I need to figure out who I am before I can truly commit. I can't do that while feeling tied down." The contrast between our worlds was striking. To her, freedom came before love. To me, respect, loyalty, and commitment were the foundation of it. That night, our home felt smaller, the walls closing in, the warmth fading. She had drawn a line, one that cut through the bond one thought was unbreakable. Days blurred into weeks. Then one morning, she packed her things and left a note that read, almost carelessly, "I'll see where life takes me. Don't wait up." I read it again and again, disbelief mixing with heartbreak. But I didn't beg her to stay. I didn't call, didn't cry, didn't chase. Instead, I turned inward, focused on my work, my friends, and the fragment of life still mine to hold. The reminders of her absence lingered everywhere. The untouched side of bed, the empty coffee mug, the silence where laughter once lived. And yet with time, that emptiness slowly became clarity. Sarah had chosen discovery over devotion, and I had a choice too, to wait for her return or to honor my own worth. I chose the latter. I moved forward, not bitterly, but with quiet dignity, understanding that love is never balanced when one person treats it as temporary. Months passed. Life steadied into a rhythm I hadn't expected, but began to appreciate. The apartment that once felt heavy now felt open, lighter. I poured my energy into my career, reconnected with old friends, and rediscovered the parts of myself I'd lost while trying to hold someone else together. I learned to enjoy my own company. Quiet dinners, long walks, books I'd left untouched for years. There were moments of loneliness, yes, but every time it crept in, I reminded myself of something simple and true. I had respected my own heart when she hadn't. Almost a year later, a message arrived that changed everything. It was a Thursday morning. The words were short, but they made my chest tighten. "James, can we talk? I need to explain. Please." My first instinct was to ignore it, to let the past stay buried. But something about her tone, the hesitation, the trace of regret, made me pause. I didn't respond right away. I let the day pass, thinking, weighing, breathing. And then I realized this wasn't about her anymore. It was about me, the person I'd become, the boundaries I'd learned to keep. When we finally met, she was different. Her eyes, once so full of restless ambition, now carried a heaviness, a humility that hadn't been there before. She spoke slowly, her words spilling out in fragments. Confessions of mistakes, loneliness, and the cost of mistaking freedom for fulfillment. She talked about how she had chased experience, only to find emptiness. How she'd realized too late that freedom without love isn't freedom, it's isolation. Her voice trembled, heavy with remorse. I listened, quietly. I didn't interrupt. I had learned patience, the strength of silence. She said she wanted to come back, to rebuild the life she had left behind. But in that year apart, I had changed. I had built something new within myself. Confidence, calm, and the kind of self-respect that doesn't bargain for love. The difference between who she was then and who I had become now was clear. And in that difference, I found my power. Her voice cracked as she whispered. I thought I needed space to find myself, but all I found were people who never cared the way you did. I thought freedom meant doing anything I wanted, but it just meant being surrounded by people who saw me as replaceable. Her words were raw, honest, maybe even desperate. For the first time, I didn't see her as the woman who hurt me. I saw someone who had learned the truth too late. When she finished, I looked at her and said quietly, "You didn't lose me because you wanted to explore, Sarah. You lost me because I stopped waiting for you to see my worth. I stopped needing your approval to feel whole." Her eyes widened. My calmness cut deeper than anger ever could. I wasn't cruel, just done. The man who would have taken her back no longer existed. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away gently. "I forgive you," I said, "but that doesn't mean I want to start over. You want to find yourself." And so did I. The difference is, I found someone worth staying for, me. Silence filled the space between us. She wiped her tears, nodded slowly, and whispered, "You've changed." I smiled faintly. "No," I said, "I just stopped chasing people who run from love." When she left that cafe, I didn't look back. I didn't replay memories or wonder what if. I paid for my coffee, stepped outside, and breathed in the cool evening air. For the first time in years, I felt light, not because someone had returned, but because I no longer needed them to. A few months later, I heard she'd moved away, starting over once more. Maybe she'll find what she's looking for this time. As for me, I found peace in early mornings and steady work, in friendships that nourished rather than drained, and most of all, in knowing that my heart no longer waited for apologies that would never come. Sometimes love doesn't end in betrayal or bitterness. It ends in understanding. Not every story needs to come full circle. Some are meant to teach us how to let go, gently, gracefully. She said she needed to explore, and she did. But while she searched for herself out there, I found myself right here, whole, steady, and finally free.